Hi, so I'm Cameron Leifer. I wanted to focus my DCIM project on something that I've loved researching and talking about over my 4 years at Rutgers, and even way further beyond that, way back when I was young growing up, which is the world of online content creation. As time has advanced and the internet and digital society has evolved, content creation has grown from something really niche and small, which I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with it growing up and how it's evolved from that to where it is now, which is a massive industry where people can make incredible money and have an awesome opportunity to create videos and content about things that they love and that they're passionate about. A lot of what I'm talking about is my own journey as a content creator and my advice and things that I've kind of picked up and learned along the way that I want to pass on, as well as some predictions about the future of the world of content creation and how we are going to evolve alongside with it, as well as that world is going to evolve alongside us. So a lot to talk about in this video. First, I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about myself and my background. So yeah. A little bit about myself. I grew up with a rare genetic condition called Enlarged Vestibular Aqueduct, which has impacted my right ear severely. I am about 90% deaf in that ear, and a really large condition of this impairment is that upon head trauma, I could have gone completely deaf in my right ear, and I also have the markings for that in my left ear, which functions pretty normally. If I got hit in the head, I could go deaf in both ears. So growing up, I couldn't really play contact sports, anything like football, basketball, baseball, anything that I could have potentially gotten injured or concussed or anything of that sort, completely out of the question. So I kind of had to adjust and find something that I could be passionate about, something that I could care about. And that kind of led me towards video games. And I played a lot of video games growing up. That's how I met most of my friends that I still talk to almost every single day today. I love video games. I'm actually studying video games as my major here at Rutgers. And naturally through that progression, around the time I started picking up video games as a hobby, gaming YouTube was starting to grow a little bit. And that's something that really was super important to me because I didn't really have as many opportunities to make friends and meet people growing up with similar interests. A lot of the people I just was friends with before I was diagnosed with my condition were all athletes. So I couldn't really participate in a lot of the same activities. So I kind of had to figure out something I enjoyed doing by myself. And it started with video games. Eventually I found YouTube and I started watching people play the video games that I liked playing alone. And it kind of made that experience a little bit less isolating and lonely. It was really cool to see people that were able to record their own gameplay and put commentary over it. And at the time, it was still a really, really new thing. I mean, this is probably 2008, 2009, maybe. I was very young and YouTube was also very young. So there weren't really people that were thinking about doing this for a profession. Very few were at the time, if any. So just to kind of see how it's evolved, you see streamers and content creators now that are able to make full-time livings doing this. And partially due to the pandemic, it has grown exponentially as people were kind of forced to be isolated inside, kind of how I was growing up. I had to spend a lot of time alone and inside. So I just naturally have always been drawn to this type of medium. And growing up, I actually had a few attempts at YouTube myself. They're really funny. They don't exist, I don't think. I really tried to look for them for this project. I couldn't find them anywhere. But there's videos of little me running around my neighborhood with my friends, recording videos on our iPod Touch, recording some videos of us playing video games on our TVs, not the highest quality productions, stuff that I've gotten to eventually, but it's still super cool that is something that I've been interested in for all that time, and to see it grow and evolve to where it is now. Something that I stumbled upon in my research was a line of Spanish dolls. They're called Nancy dolls. They're really popular in Spain, and they have a Nancy YouTuber doll, and that got me thinking, like, when I was a kid, like, that would have never even remotely been a consideration. The closest thing I think that I had growing up to that was on Nickelodeon. They had the show iCarly, which was about two young content creators. Actually, not a lot of people really think about it like that as their first kind of real exposure to that being a path. But the fact that there's this encouragement and support for a younger generation to pursue something like this that didn't really exist when I was a kid, I think that's super awesome. I think that the idea of making content and making things that you're passionate about, the barrier for entry is basically gone now. Recording software is free. The equipment mostly is built into laptops and phones nowadays, and I think that everyone who has at least some interest in it should go for it. So yeah, growing up, I didn't really have not much discouragement, I would say, but not a lot of encouragement to go for it. So it was kind of like this very niche thing. My friends and I would record these quick little videos on our iPods. I remember when our first video got 100 views, we had this huge like block party celebrating it. All of us, we all got together, and it was, a really cool moment. But as we got older and our interests kind of grew apart and we got into separate things, I was still into it. A lot of my friends kind of weren't really as into it, so I was still trying to kind of keep that alive. But as I was getting older and there was a lot more social pressure in school to kind of fit in, I kind of got scared to do it. I remember distinctly a few years after, that time when I was making a lot of videos with my friends, I was trying to do some stuff alone. I sat down and I recorded a video of myself playing Minecraft, and I just couldn't stand the sound of my voice. Honestly, I just kept watching it back over and over and over again. And I was just thinking, like, if anybody from school finds this, I'd be so embarrassed. And that's something that a lot of people, I think, don't really expect when they're talking about content creation. A lot of the narrative is, oh, this is so easy. You're just recording yourself talking, or you're just recording yourself playing a game, or whatever the hell. And there's something really scary, especially for someone who's a little bit more introverted. I'm going to address this in a little bit, but I've dealt with some anxiety and some depressive episodes. I'm going to touch upon that later on in this recording. But regardless, growing up, that was a real fear I had. I kind of got scared away from doing content entirely, so I never really put out that video of me playing Minecraft. I kind of kept it as an interest in my back pocket. And when I first started going to school, I was going to study political science, and I kind of quickly became disillusioned with that, and I decided I wanted to study some of my interests, which were video games. So that's my major. I'm studying information technology and informatics. I'm specializing in game production, and also just digital technologies and social media, which is a lot of what we focused in DCIM. And just going to school and getting more comfortable and confident with that being a legitimate field and path for me to pursue has led me to where I am now, which is on the road to becoming a content creator. I've spent the last year making content, hundreds of hours spent between coming up with ideas and recording videos and editing videos, and a whole lot of work that goes into it that I wasn't really aware of when I first started. So I'm going to talk a little bit next about the journey and my beginnings. I started making content around the beginning of my fall semester last year. I was streaming on Twitch actually at the time. I was streaming myself playing games with my friends. I had a lot of downtime over the summer, so I kind of figured, hey, I'd try and make some money doing this, maybe grow an audience, something along those lines. And I realized pretty quickly that Twitch's algorithm isn't very kind for growth. There isn't really like a recommendation system there like you see on platforms like Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. So I kind of quickly shifted my focus, and I said, all right, I need to promote my stream. How am I going to do that? So I actually initially, with the help of a friend, was starting to kind of take clips from my stream, throwing them together to upload. And I pretty quickly realized I want to do this by myself. I think this is something that I could teach myself. So I became almost entirely self-taught with video editing, which is something that I'm really proud of. I watched some YouTube videos to help me out. A really awesome channel that helped me out at the beginning is Finzar. I'm going to leave a link to that channel below. It has a lot of really awesome editing tutorials and a lot of just general content creation advice. So highly recommend that if you're thinking about getting into this. So I started made a few videos. At first it was just general internet stuff. My first video, my friends and I went on BuzzFeed and we kind of looked at some of the ridiculous quizzes on there, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing it. I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but at first it was really fun. Then I started making some gaming videos, just some clips of my friends and I playing games, some stuff for my streams. And then after a little while, it started to kind of wear on me a little bit. There's something that it's kind of a phenomenon, that's how I'll describe it, that you see for the most part on these major platforms, content from people that have already made it. You still will get recommended stuff from smaller accounts, but for the vast majority of what you see, it's people that kind of already have everything figured out. Not necessarily everything, but a lot figured out. So going into it, the expectation is that you will, at least to a certain extent, have a viewership kind of like that. And I fell into that trap personally. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I don't want to discourage anyone from doing this, but you have to kind of get used to people not really seeing your work a ton and being able to monitor your own progress, whether that be through your own editing, through your own promotion of your own videos, through the ideas that you have, as long as you're able to kind of keep track of and monitor your own progress personally, because eventually views will start coming in. I've had some small success doing this. I'm by no means an expert or a professional at this, but there's something to be said about trying to make a little improvement every single time you're working. It's definitely a tall task to pursue. There's definitely something intimidating and scary about trying to kind of put yourself out there for the whole world to see, and coming up with all these ideas and trying to be creative. And eventually that did lead me to one of the darker periods of my life, which is something that it's not super comfortable for me to talk about, but for the sake of me documenting my entire journey doing this, something that I think is super important to address. This next part of the video is going to be a little heavy if you ever deal with or manage depression or anxiety and you don't want anything to trigger, you don't want to hear this part of my story, feel free to skip ahead. But yeah, the stuff I'm going to talk about is a little bit more intensive in this part. So from January to April of this year, I uploaded literally nothing on any of my social medias. I kind of went completely dark. Just honestly, one of the darkest periods of my life. I was starting to feel really pressured about making content and posting content. I wasn't really getting a lot of views, which was kind of hurting my perception of my work. I wasn't really sure if what I was working on was good or bad. There wasn't really much feedback from anyone other than my friends. I hadn't really even shown any of this stuff to my family. I was kind of afraid of what they'd have to say, and it kind of led me into this really bad period where I was kind of like, I need to grow as fast as I can so that I can have an audience, so that I could tell if my stuff is good or not. So I'm going to make a lot of videos, and they're not going to be great. I'm not going to be proud of them. And I'm always, just personally, I've always been a quality over quantity kind of guy. It's just how I roll. It's just how I work. I love to make things that I'm passionate about, I'm excited about. And I was making some videos that I wasn't really super passionate or excited about, and it totally killed my motivation to do this. It started really affecting my mental state. Again, I had mentioned a little bit earlier in this video, I've been managing and dealing with depression, anxiety from, a variety of sources, mainly from having hearing loss and trying to navigate my day-to-day life with that. So that depression compounded with the stress about trying to make content creation work and not really being sure where it was heading kind of led me to this really dark path. And I was really demotivated. I couldn't work at all. I really couldn't get myself to sit in my computer and sit down and just even edit together one clip. It was really hard for me, and it was really upsetting because I started so strong. I was really passionate about it, and eventually over time I through the help of therapy and talking to my friends and family and being upfront and honest and saying, like, this is what I'm doing, I'm spending a lot of time doing it, I would really appreciate honest feedback, support, anything you could offer. I made it through eventually. It took me a few months, but the moral of the story from all this is content creation is definitely not an easy path. And it could definitely be demoralizing to be making stuff that not a lot of people are going to be seeing. It's heartbreaking to put, 50 to 100 hours on a project and only have like 30 people see it and 25 of them being your family. Trying to figure out why aren't more people seeing it. It's definitely part of the reality of this. And I'm definitely not trying to demotivate anyone from doing this, because I think from this I've learned so much about perseverance and the importance of just really believing in myself, as corny as it sounds. I made it through that period of my life just by honestly sitting down, being honest with myself, saying, will making a lot of really crappy videos that I'm not proud of make me happy? And there's definitely some people that can do that and gain a following. And if that's something you're interested in, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. But ultimately, it's an isolating experience. It's a lonely experience making content. You spend a lot of time kind of working on these projects alone. And it's ironic because most of my projects are recorded with my friends, but the editing process can be lonely. And again, I'm going to repeat myself. This isn't to scare you from it. It's just kind of to prepare you for it. This is just the reality of the work. It's just the kind of stuff that you run into. But I made it through the other end of the tunnel, and I certainly think that you can too if you're struggling with stuff like this right now, or if you think you might struggle with stuff like this in the future. So now where I'm at, I got back on the horse. I've been making content steadily, pretty much consistently since then. So you might be asking yourself, why does all of this really matter? Why'd you kind of just listen to me talk about my personal life? And I think that something that really is important from all this is perspective. A lot of the times people are kind of afraid to share their experiences with this type of stuff. And a lot of the times you don't really hear from people that are kind of on their way up the mountain in a sense. So the people that have already been successful doing this and are, making it a living, they're at the top of the mountain, and there's a lot of people trying to climb up that mountain to reach that point. And to get the perspective of somebody who's on that climb up can kind of help people that are, not even starting their climb understand what it's like and how to get there. And I definitely have some advice. And again, I've said it before, I'm not a professional. I don't do this for a living. I don't know all the answers. If I did, then maybe I would be. But just from somebody who's been doing it, starting out is probably the hardest step. Just that first step is always the hardest step. Once you're actually going and, making stuff, it's gonna come much easier. I definitely at first wanted my first video to be like a home run, and it was honestly, for the fact that I had only been really teaching myself how to do this stuff for like a month, I'm proud of it. Definitely my worst work, but your first video is probably always going to be your worst, and don't spend a lot of time ruminating over it and stewing over that. Another really important thing is don't be afraid to just kind of take other people's styles and make them your own. Now, I'm not saying to blatantly steal from people, but I've learned a lot about editing and making content from other creators that I like. I've looked at their channels and I've taken in, what do I like about this and how can I make it my own? So some content creators that I've looked up to are guys like Isaac Y, Video Game Donkey, Moose Critical. They all make really great content. And something that I've taken specifically from one of those channels, Isaac Y uses a lot of typed out subtitles. And that's something that I always appreciated about his work. And I didn't really connect the dots until recently. I'd uploaded a video and received a really awesome comment about someone who's also hard of hearing that said that they really appreciated the time that I put into typing out the subtitles so that they could experience it on the same level as everyone else. And I kind of made it all click for me, like why I was doing that. At first, it was kind of a style thing because, that was just something that somebody I looked up to was doing. And then I kind of realized, like, I like that because I'm hard of hearing and it helps me to navigate what I'm watching. So, again, not everything's going to be that simple for people, but there's definitely something to be gained from studying and learning from others. You don't have to figure this all out by yourself. And I'm also not encouraging you to totally just go there and rip off ideas and styles, because that's, you're not going to learn anything from that. Some other advice I have, don't be afraid to ask like friends and family for support. That was something that really held me back personally. Was I was too embarrassed of what I was making. I wasn't really confident in it, and I was just honestly scared of negative criticisms. And honestly, those negative criticisms that I did receive, it was mostly positive encouragement, but those negative criticisms that I did receive really, really helped. Like, something that really stands out to me is one of my friends just said, dude, like, your intros are like 35 seconds long. Not a lot of people are going to stay for 35 seconds. You got to cut them down. And I kind of realized, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. So I kind of adjusted my approach to making intros to my videos. Now I kind of just show a quick little clip from the video that I really like, that I think is like a good attention grabber, and I just put a graphic about the title of the video, and that's pretty much it. I don't really do too much else other than that. I just talk for a whole bunch of time, and I kind of quickly realized that that's not super effective. Other than that, it's just be there for each other. Again, like I just said right there, getting that feedback and criticism. And I don't mean to say you should be seeking out hate and awful comments, but just knowing that there's someone there for you. Making content can be a lonely experience. At the end of the day, you spend a lot of time editing and spending time kind of trying to think of things that you like on your own, and just kind of knowing that now I have the support and comfort of my friends and family just means the world to me. So again, if you know someone who's interested in doing this, or again, like I've said in the past, you probably will, whether it's a family member in the future or a friend in the future, just being there for them really does help a lot, and just being kind of a sounding wall in a sense. And like I said at the beginning of the video, this wasn't really there for me when I was growing up. Again, it's not that I was discouraged from doing this, it was just such a new thing that there wasn't really all that much knowledge about it, and there wasn't really that much that people could offer, and it was still very niche and very small. And now it is very much not very niche and very small. Content creators make an incredible amount of money. Influencers are in advertising campaigns that hell, your grandparents probably see. It is a totally new world and total shift in digital society, to where the barrier of entry is basically gone. I mean, anyone that has access to any technology basically has all the equipment they need. Most laptops have cameras on them and microphones in them. Your phone has a camera and a microphone, and all these apps are free to use. So instead of in the past where you kind of needed expensive equipment to really create stuff, especially in the video medium, that's gone. That's been gone for a while. But now, if you have a passion for it, you can just go for it. And I think that's one of the coolest things, is that anyone can have a platform as long as you stick to it and you're passionate about it. And that's one of the most awesome things about digital society to me. I think that it's so cool that anyone can have a voice, and anyone can kind of make things and make videos and create and start projects that they're passionate about. And ultimately, my final word of advice is to just go for it. Seriously, just go for it. I spent so much time hesitant and afraid, and I really just wish I'd started earlier with making my own content. And I definitely understand, and I want to be sympathetic. It is definitely something scary to put yourself out there. but I promise you it will be worth it if you're interested. And like I said in the past, if you have a family member, let's just say like a little cousin that is like, oh, I like YouTube, maybe I want to make YouTube videos, encourage them, be there, offer some guidance and some support, link them to some channels that you like and show them some videos that you like, and see if you can get some balls rolling in their head. And just at the end of the day, content creation is awesome. I love doing it. I really, from the bottom of my heart, recommend anyone who's thinking about it to just do it. That's all. Thank you guys for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned something. I hope you gained something from it. And if you want to contact me, talk about any of this stuff, there's a link below to my website that I made for this project that has all sorts of contact information and other projects I've worked on and made. So that is all. Thank you. Have a good day.